afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. It's so nice to see all of you here, and thank you for deciding to spend part of your Sunday afternoon with us. My name is Catherine Black, and I am the founder and artistic director of Classical Healing Keys. Now, all of you know that this is a stigma-free concert, but what does that mean? Put simply, we are using music as a platform to reduce the stigma, that negative attitude towards people living with mental illness. And we are introducing resources local to upstate South Carolina to help people feel comfortable seeking for help. Sometimes we might feel afraid of admitting that we're struggling, afraid of being judged or seen as weak. Stigma prevents many people from healing. But sometimes I've found that misconceptions surrounding mental illness aren't necessarily obviously harmful. For example, when I was a freshman in college, I went to see a counselor for a challenge I had faced since childhood. An irrational and debilitating fear of descending stairs. At the end of my sessions with this counselor, he told me that I likely had a predisposition towards OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, if you're like me and my family at the time, you might be wondering, what does irrational fear have to do with OCD? Isn't OCD where people like things to be neat and in order, or maybe they color code everything, or have an obsession with cleaning? I've never been particularly organized. I'm not any more scared of germs than most people, and I don't have an urge to wash my hands all the time. Why would I have a predisposition towards OCD? It wasn't until I was diagnosed with OCD a couple of years ago that we found out what OCD is really like. To put it simply, OCD is a pattern of unwanted thoughts and fears that drive you to doing repetitive behaviors that take up a lot of time and get in the way of day-to-day routines and responsibilities. Sometimes I wonder if my family and I knew that this was a real debilitating illness, that it wasn't the oversimplified, misleading stereotype many people talk about, if I might have done some more research and maybe been better prepared to recognize and regulate. Thankfully, by the time I realized that something wasn't quite right, that taking 30 minutes to write a 2-sentence email on a regular basis was not helping, I knew where I could get help. If you look in your programs, you will see that our speakers are talking about hope. Yes, there is pain and darkness. Yes, there is stigma, and yes, there are misconceptions. And also, yes, there is hope. There is music, and there's a community of people who are ready and willing to help. I'd like to introduce the Vice President of Classical Healing Keys.
I'll switch sides.
This is Allison Curie.
Thank you, Catherine. It is such a pleasure to get to collaborate with Catherine in Classical Healing Keys and sharing ways in which music can help us with our mental health, help us with our awareness of our mental health, whether we have a diagnosis or not. Even if you don't have a diagnosed mental illness or condition, you have mental health. We all face challenges, we all face stressors, but it's important to be able to identify when we need to reach out for help, whether that be talking with a friend or listening to a good piece of music, performing a good piece of music, even if it's singing in your shower, or going to a professional. So there's so many different avenues to get help and so many different levels of our mental health. I think it's fascinating, as Catherine mentioned, there's hope, and we're learning more and more about how our brain, how our body and nervous system react to music. I think that's fascinating. As a music therapist, I bring in different types of music. and I love classical music at heart as well, and so I love getting to share that side of classical music and mental health with Catherine and Classical Healing Keys. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, and help me welcome Kaylin Good to the stage.
Thank you very much. I am delighted to be here and helping to stamp out stigma. I'm going to start with my diagnosis, when it all started, and then talk about how music has affected me. I was diagnosed with depression, seasonal affective disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and anxiety when I was 12. It started when I was 10, but with anxiety started much earlier, but that's another story. I really want to talk about when I ended up having a severe episode of depression. I was 34, and the most hard thing about it was that it took effort to move any at all. It's like, I had the weight and the darkness just consumes you. The darkness and the weight never lifts. There was never a time when I could say, oh, I feel a little better today. And of course, a side effect of the medication and the inactivity, I gained 130 pounds, so that doesn't make me feel any better. Like I said, nothing would lift my mood. I would spend time with family, because that had always been an important thing to me. In the beginning, I would go for drives, but you'll see a little later how that became difficult. And I would play Sudoku. Finally, I decided that there had to be some way to find some joy, some pleasure in life. So I decided to go on a cruise, which I'd been on many before, and it always made me feel better. But this time was very different. This time my sister had to go with me because they were afraid I wasn't going to come back home. That was not my plans. I was really just trying to feel something positive. And during the cruise, I mean, I could acknowledge that, yeah, the view is nice, but it didn't make me feel anything. It was just an acknowledgement in my head that, okay, that should make me feel something, but it does not. I went to the comedy shows, nothing there. So this cruise became just another place for me to sit and be miserable. This went on for 3 years straight. There was no reprieve whatsoever. I frequently had to call my therapist just to remain alive. And hearing her voice was usually enough to calm me down and remind me that I do have people who care and are willing to help me. Now back to the driving thing. I could only drive in familiar areas because I could only see what was right in front of me. Had tunnel vision completely. I couldn't see what was beside me, behind me, and ahead any further than the car in front of me. And that was really one of the hardest things for me to accept, that I can't, because I would always just get in the car and drive. I drive in the mountains. I'm from West Virginia, so, you know, the mountains made me calm usually, and the scenery made me feel better, but nothing. Then, about 6 months into this, I had to leave work. But I knew before I left work, I needed to help somebody in some way, and I promised myself that I would leave the house every day. Because during earlier episodes, that was a huge issue. I would just stay home, and that would be, you know, I would do nothing. So that was my two promises to myself. And I did leave the house every day. I would eat lunch at the same place, the same food, every day for like 2.5 years. And as for volunteer work, I set up an opportunity with the agency where I had done my internship for my master's degree. I explained to them that I was very ill, couldn't do a whole lot, but wanted to do something. So the first time I was there, it's like I was punching holes in papers to put into a binder, and that was pretty much all I could do. In those early years, I would go for like 30 minutes one day a week. Over the years, as I've gotten better, I was up to 2 days a week, or 2 afternoons a week, not all day. And I feel like I belong there and that I'm a part of the team. There's things that I do nobody else does. Nobody else wants to try to do. And, leaving the house meant that I had to take a shower and get dressed every day. Well, that consumed all the energy I had for the day, which meant there was no energy for anything. There was no energy. I would go to NAMI also, and I facilitated groups there. But, my world consisted pretty much of volunteering, going to therapy, and doctor's appointments. I used music to gauge how well I was feeling each day. On good days, I'd sing along. And on the bad days, I would just listen. Looking back, I now can see that on my best days, I was consumed by the music. The heaviness and darkness was minimal, but I could only see that looking back. I couldn't recognize that at the time. And I only played music in the car. So I have no idea if I could have felt better more often if I would have been playing music in the house. Once the depression lifted, it took 20 years for my brain to really come back and really be functional. And I still have deficits. I also had to learn what life was like without depression. And that's quite a journey. To have no depression when I've been depressed since I was 10. So, that was just a very foreign concept to me. And the last year I have been working part-time, which is great, and makes me feel a little better. So I would like to thank you guys for having me here tonight. Thank you for being here tonight to acknowledge our mental illnesses and endeavor to end stigma. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to extend a heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you who came out tonight, not just to immerse yourself in incredible music, but to also engage with the powerful stories shared by our NAMI peers, like Amber and Lauren, who you'll be hearing from later. My name is Antonio Tony Tanner, and I proudly serve as the Executive Director of NAMI Spartanburg, in addition to being a peer facilitator for our Connection Support Group. As a peer, I draw upon my own journey with mental health, grappling with both depression and anxiety. My depression and anxiety have intersectionalities. I stand before you as a Black man of Cuban descent who embraces his identity as a queer man and navigates the challenges of dyslexia. At the age of 10, my struggles with depression and anxiety and anger began to erupt, resulting in 3 tumultuous years marked by emotional outbursts, defiance towards authority, and ongoing struggles in the classroom. These challenges were deeply intertwined with my parents' divorce, the pressure of stepping up to assume the responsibilities of becoming the man of the house, and grappling with my emerging sexual identity. I was silently coming to terms with being gay without even having the language to express it. During this time, music began to be my saving grace. At the age of 10, in the 5th grade, I was playing the bells, keyboard, and the recorder, and participated in 5 school plays and musicals. Music allowed me to breathe and relax. It provided an escape from what I couldn't control and empowered me to create something of my own or emulate it. From the ages of 11 to 13, I sought help through therapy and anger management, navigating the chaotic waters of middle school. My mental health and behavior felt like they were racing along a highway at breakneck speed with no brakes in sight. Yet, time and again, music served as my guiding light. I picked up the trumpet and joined the school jazz and concert bands, and later even dabbled in guitar ensemble with 2 rewarding years. My dedication to music earned me a replica guitar once owned by Darren Milliken from System of a Down, one of my all-time favorite rock bands, whose political passion and raw energy resonate deeply with me, especially on challenging days. In high school, from the ages of 14 to 18, I presented as an extroverted and outgoing teenager, but I struggled to manage my depression and anxiety, especially after I stopped going to therapy. Many nights I would retreat to my room to blast music to drown my cries and screams. During this critical point, music began to be the actual lifeline, providing solace and hope when I otherwise felt lost. The remnants of my parents' divorce dimmed with time, but the anxiety surrounding my sexual identity and the fear of ridicule burdened my spirit. Thankfully, I was blessed with a mother who, sensing my inner conflict, respected my need for space to discover who I truly was. Throughout high school, I actively engaged with music. From freshman to senior years, I proudly marched in the band, playing the mellophone, while also participating in symphonic band and wind symphony as a French horn player. The long hours spent practicing with competitions and striving for grand champions and excellence instilled a sense of purpose, keeping me grounded and providing an invaluable outlet for my feelings, helping to ease the grips of depression and anxiety. The years between 19 and 22 marked the deepest chapter in my life. A period riddled with weight of depression, anxiety, self-esteem issues, and substance abuse. My mental health plummeted to new depths where I turned to alcohol, Xanax bars, and MDMA as a means to numb myself from the pain. I was trapped in a vicious cycle, unaware of how deeply I was hurting myself. My world felt perilously close to closing in around me. Yet again, Music emerged as my savior. I made the pivotal decision to return to school at Miami-Dade College, Kendall campus, pursuing my associate's degrees in commercial music. Immersing myself in music, I played in various ensembles, including chamber music groups, orchestra, and wind symphony, where I continued to play the French horn. Additionally, I found joy in managing the Opus One Music Club for a year and a half, where I had the incredible opportunity to attend and perform at 2 music symposiums. And one of my proudest moments to this day, I became the manager for the event of the 44th President of the United States Marine Corps Band, a milestone that filled me with immense pride and joy. I graduated with my AA in 2014, and through these experiences, I gradually embraced transformative change, igniting a newfound determination to do it better in my life and for those who share similar journeys. I was about to turn 25 in a month when I became the guardian of my niece, a responsibility I held from October 2015 to the fall of 2018. Being a parent was challenging, but being a parent without being her father was even harder. I was mentally not prepared for this significant life change, but I embraced it out of love for my family and for the love of my beautiful baby girl. During this time, I struggled with feelings of depression and anxiety, as my duties as the man of the house were constant reminders of the weight I carried. Once again, music came in to keep me here. I would play all kinds of music and have dance-off with my niece when she was a newborn to the age of 3.5 years old. In the fall of 2018, my brother was finally able to get on his feet, which allowed me to return back to school to pursue my bachelor's degree in commercial music with a minor in psychology. At 34, soon to be 35 in a month, pursuing my master's in advocacy and social policy at Furman, I reflect on the past 10 years. I am still a musician, and I feel the urge to return and play in a band. I have become more self-aware and the struggles with depression and anxiety, even if my mom would say otherwise. Each day remains a challenge, and in the last 3 years, I've experienced 4 severe bouts of depression where I was immobile, not eating for days, and withdrawn from life. On a positive note, I am now 12 years into living as my true self after coming out at 23. The aspect of struggle is behind me, but I have found and learned how to navigate my journey toward becoming my authentic self. In closing, music is and will always be my lifeline. I encourage you all to take a moment after this to donate outside at the NAMI table, because stories like mine, along with Amber and Lauren's, highlight our experiences with mental health and our perseverance. Please join me at our table after this to continue the conversation, to support real talks and real help. Thank you, everyone.
So just a quick note about the composer of the piece we're about to play. This is someone you may not have heard of. We hadn't heard of her before either. It's interesting, she was composing in the early 1900s. She was composing about the same time with a lot of the famous impressionists.
And what's interesting is that as a woman, she did not feel comfortable publishing her music under her own name, so she always was publishing her music under a pseudonym of Mel. And I just, things have come fortunately to a better place now where women can actually be acknowledged for the things that they have done in music. So I hope you enjoy.
everyone. I am so grateful to be here. I played my cello on this stage, it feels like about 2 decades ago, and not nearly that beautifully. My name is Lauren Oliver. That's my first introduction. You're going to get a different one a little bit later. My title is Hope in the Middle of Despair. First, I'll touch on despair, then hope, and then the middle. In first grade, I started having anxiety, which I'm having a little bit of now. When I was 14 years old, my dad died by suicide. Yes, it was very, very hard. But my mom thought that was the only reason I was in a downward trajectory, when honestly that wasn't true. I remember my best friend my senior year came out as gay. I wished I could come out as mentally ill, but I was afraid of the stigma. It seemed after I walked up that stage at graduation, all fell apart, and I could hide no longer. I stopped playing my cello. At 20 years old, I had to go on to disability. I was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder and GAD, which is generalized anxiety disorder. I had delusions, psychosis, and paranoia. I was told by countless people, especially professionals, that I would be too sick to ever amount to very much. I tried multiple times to work, and I had 3 waitressing jobs. Neither one lasted more than 2.5 months. So I started to believe all those people. And then I had a glimmer of hope in a psychiatrist. He told me, Lauren, once you hit your 30s, you are going to soar. That seed of hope was planted. Around 33, things started to get better. I got a job and held it for 2.5 years until the business closed. Around that time, I bought a cello. The glimmer had turned into a sparkle. 7 years ago in January, I picked Christianity back up, which I had fled from because of my pain. And God made a big difference. I realized something about hope, that I was hope. This is my second introduction. My name is Lauren Hope Oliver. I got my middle name from my grandmother. I never realized how powerful that name was. Now I have hope. Including a 9-month internship, I have been at my current job for 4 years. I am a certified peer support specialist. I give out hope to those living with mental illness with empathy and telling my story. My life is especially full of hope now and music. As my sweet husband will tell you, I play Christian music so much that it makes him want to burn his ears out. Oh, sorry about that. But I have a peer now in here, she's in her 20s. She reminds me of myself. And guess what I tell her? I say, once you hit your 30s, you're going to soar. I still struggle. There isn't a week that goes by without my lingering sickness. But I hope to be cured. I hope to be used to build up others. I hope for you. Are you experiencing financial, relational, emotional, or mental health issues? If you are, for you, I hope. Keep on hoping and spread it along the way. Thank you so much. My name is Lauren Hope Oliver.
Hello again. I'll pull up my notes. So, yes, thank you to our musicians and speakers today. I know I have been touched by the music and words they have offered, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I want to take this time to thank some very important people. First, thank you to the Petrie School of Music for letting us use this beautiful hall. And you didn't get to see this, but the Premier Arts Collective had sent us lots of fantastic artwork to display during the concert. Unfortunately, the projector has some issues, and our team backstage was working really hard to get it up, but it just didn't work out. So hopefully we can get some of this artwork out afterwards. If you aren't already familiar with the Premier Arts Collective, please do check them out. Their mission is to heal the world through arts and music. Also, very importantly, thank you to our sponsors. They're listed on the inside of our program, and if you may be in attendance today, I don't see. Anyways, thank you so much for helping us bring these incredible world-class musicians to the stage and keeping this concert free for everyone. I also want to draw your attention to the back of the program. If you haven't been flipping and exploring already, you may have noticed that we have the logos of some of our sponsors, and also resources, mental health resources available in upstate South Carolina. So please take some time to look through these. And also out in the lobby, some tables have been set up. NAMI has one, the Office of Mental Health has a table, and we also have a table. I really hope you will explore those on your way out today. There's a lot of fantastic resources. Also inserted in your program is a donation card. A lot of times people hear donation and they're like, oh no, they're asking for money. But Classical Healing Keys is a nonprofit, and we rely on your contributions to keep these concerts free. When I say contributions, I really don't just mean money. While money is helpful, and we do need it, there are several other ways to support us. So please do look at the card. On the back, there is a QR code to get on our mailing list, to stay updated about future events. And again, thank you all so much for coming. It really means a lot to all of us. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the survey. There is a QR code in your program that will take you to the survey. It's right on the inside, on the second page. Your responses help us improve programming and show our impact to funders. So please take a few minutes now to fill out the survey, and just so there's no awkward silence, I will be playing the piano, so please take some time to fill that out. And afterwards, we'll finish the program with a musical number by Kaylin Good. Thank you. last number. Thank you again for coming.